Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good afternoon, or wherever you're from. We are in our final week of the Women in Security at Elastic Summit. I'm here today with Kseniia Ignatovych. She will be presenting today for cybersecurity, exploring the most diverse field of work. And so I'll tell you brief about Kseniia. Kseniia is a product manager focusing on security content, and she's part of our security product team. She works with our protection team as well. So we're glad that you join us. And so without further ado, I will introduce you to Kseniia. Kseniia, take it away.
Hi all, hope you can hear me. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. It looks a little bit like it's lagging. If I disconnect, I'll probably reconnect automatically. So hopefully it works well. Let me share my screen. All right. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining today.
She was frozen.
Yeah. 1 second. That was it. Can I share my screen again? All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Kseniia.
Perfect. All right. So I want to talk with you today about my favorite topic, cybersecurity, and how diverse it is, how big it is, and why am I so excited about it. It's going to be a journey. So when I was thinking about this presentation, I was kind of like open to explore. So explore with me. We're going to have like some interactive moments. We're going to have a surprise guest, and keep the questions to the end. I'm very bad at keeping track on chat. So if you have any questions, we'll have some time at the end for it. Yeah, that was a map to show like that we can take turns on different streets and explore on the way. A little bit about myself. So yeah, I'm a product manager working with cybersecurity. So here's a little bit of illustration of my interests and the books that I've read. Missing my favorite book, Escaping the Build Trap, which is about product management. And I come from information security background, and in my 15-year career did a bunch of different roles, cyber and not cyber related, product and not product, hardware, and like all kinds of things, development too. So that's probably one of the things that excites me about cyber, that it's I can look at it from different perspectives. When I was little, I learned at some point how the fly eye works, and it fascinated me because, like, their eye, they perceive the world from multiple angles, different perspectives, all at the same time. It's a faceted eye, so that's I thought about this idea for a long time and kind of thought, when I'm looking at the problem or a situation, I try to look at it from different perspectives, different angles, and that's how we're going to go today about looking at the cybersecurity field. Security has been growing as every technology grows, as we have more and more things automated or connected to the internet. All of these things become subject to attacks, and cybersecurity has been expanding not only in terms of new technologies, but also what kind of old processes are being digitalized and connected to the internet. So it's kind of fusing into everything. It used to be the case that it was not security was not part of the company board, but now it's the case because those are the things that have to be taken into account. So basically, like, wherever you look, whatever thing you take in your hands, there is an aspect of cybersecurity to it. So let's explore. And I prepared I prepared something to do it. But before we do it, I want to show you how we're gonna interact. There is this annotate control in Zoom. And if you go on it, you can use stamps. And I'd like you to use like some kind of stamp over there to show me on the screen what are the things that you would like me to highlight a little bit more. Right. So I wanted to go through the whole field of cybersecurity and kind of place things into order, make a nice structure. And I started with like having multiple sticky notes. Can you see my sticky notes? Yes, great. Okay. It quickly became unmanageable. So in the end, I resorted to actually creating a structure, and so we'll explore that. And if I think about cybersecurity, what kind of areas of work there are, like I've outlined a couple, going from some structures that are out there for cybersecurity, like education and training. If it's too small, please, I don't know, wave at me. I'll try to make things bigger. So we can look at asset security, which is like what kind of things can we protect? Risk management, how do you understand like what risks there are? What do you do about those? Threat intelligence, I'll talk a little bit about more. That's collecting data, analyzing data to understand like the threat landscape. Education, training, and outreach, kind of like self-explanatory. Security assessment and testing. So yeah, basically testing and analyzing things to understand how secure they are, where they have vulnerabilities. Planning, like architecture and engineering, developing basically any like technology or system securely. Look at the security from the data and privacy perspective, and I'm kind of like including there some policies and laws. Security operations, very big field, which like yeah, where we basically monitor and respond to the from the security perspective to the events in the environment, and compliance and audit. So let me see. All right. If we talk about asset security, I look at it from the angle of what kind of technology are we protecting, and like because we have many different technologies and they are also evolving. Like we can look at different layers, different technologies, such as network security. So how do you make your network secure, like where your laptops, mobile phones connect? How do you analyze what's going on in your network, like, and like what protocols are out there? What are default settings that you should use or like improve, etc. IoT security, your home security devices, cameras, Ring doorbell, your toys, anything now that connects to the internet. Yeah, like there are some nice or not nice actually security breaches related to those, and like those need to be secured as well. Cloud security, super huge. Everybody's thinking about minimizing their cost of ownership and moving to the cloud. There are multiple different providers, and it's like its own branch of technology, of course. Mobile security, your mobile phones, your mobile devices, anything in there. How do you protect your corporate environment from breaches from mobile devices, and also like as a user, like what step do you need to take to make sure that your devices and data are protected? Email security, they like that's a critical infrastructure for business, right? Identifying spam, finding out like what the phishing campaigns are there, also analyzing email like as a mechanism of delivery of malicious software. Endpoint security, communication security. Think about the oh my god, like the different chats that you're using. How do you prevent sniffing of those private things that you have? If you have anything that I missed or like deliberately didn't talk about and you're interested in, please like stamp it. I can see on the screen then if you do. But then moving on, risk management. That's the field where we think, yeah, what do we have? How do we understand what can go wrong? And yeah, like basically see which things are preventable, which things we can accept. And to me, for a long time, it was kind of a black magic, right? Like, how do you actually go about it, right? How do you analyze it? And there are multiple different frameworks that help systematically go about risks and score them and identify which ones you need to protect against. How do you map like the security controls to those? Fascinating field, also with like many tools that help make the job easier, and it requires a lot of knowledge on the technology side as well. Security architecture and engineering, also super important. We know that if we spend time developing or like designing things securely, it will cost less than fixing issues that come later or like responding to the breaches. So that's why this is a very important topic. And there are it studies how to architect things securely, what kind of like protocols or API, how to secure APIs. What practices should the development teams employ to avoid creating vulnerabilities when they develop new software, new things? Improving the underlying technology, for example, browsers, like we have many web vulnerabilities, but one of the things that like the underlying technology is a browser, because it was so insecure, there were many possibilities to create vulnerabilities basically and like exploit those. But with browsers like kind of taking a step up and making things more secure, there are many more options on a framework level to secure things before it even like touches any development. So that's been improving, and that's a very important work there. Security operations, my favorite. I've spent time with it. Fascinating field. That's that's the thing that keeps like the security running, or like when you're looking at this field, that's what you're monitoring, right? Like you need to get all the data about your infrastructure in, analyze what's going on, make sure that you have relevant detections in place, so that's when detection engineering comes into play. To do that, like you have to understand again, like what could possibly go wrong and how do you detect it. And like there is a big work going into research and the rules creation, because you need to have infrastructure to test things on, you need to automate many things, you need to balance between having many alerts that the rules would create and having tight rules that will find like actually important, high priority threats in the environment. When you know it's an incident, you go into incident response, a very stressful situation. So it requires people who can manage stress, like be calm under stress, understand like how to plan it, understand technology. They need forensics to gather the evidence and store it securely so it can be actually used in court. And like you can like analyze the threat, make your how to say conclusions about like what was going on when the breach happened, etc. Other important things in there, breach communication. So like if you have like well, actually whether you have external customers or internal users involved, you have to be communicating about those things. So there is a need for people who can be doing those things too. There are many processes around how do you train for this. Penetration testing, so acting as an adversary to understand and try to break into the system with the idea of making it more secure once you've identified where like the gaps are. Fraud prevention, something is kind of on the border with security and yeah, basically fraud, where like with more and more technology and more business processes happening in the cyber realm, you can basically analyze that data to get understanding if there is any fraud happening. Deceptive security, super interesting. How do you lure attacker into the system that is actually designed to catch their activity and so that the defenders can analyze it? There are multiple different interesting things happening in that area, like not super huge, but kind of special. With more and more data appearing, or like that we are able to collect, the storage getting cheaper, the more technology that we can collect information from. We need to do data engineering, so we can prepare data for further analysis for the other tools to be analyzed in, not only in the security ones. We employ machine learning to help us detect things in that huge amounts of data, where like the machines can better do that than humans. And like you see, this is like this. There are a lot of things. Many of those were done manually for quite some time, and they are repetitive. So there needs to be automation in place. There are people who focus on that in the security operations, and they develop tools for the security team members to help them work more efficiently. Threat intelligence. So that's when we try to understand what's going on out there, depending either like on our company or like in general, what are the general trends in the how to say out there. So data collection here is quite important. Where do you get information about threats? So there are companies that have they collect information about network attacks, or like have like spam traps to collect these things, the spam to analyze it, or they scout deep web to understand like some secret forums to see also the trends, or like chats in different communication tools right now. That data needs to be analyzed, put into perspective, and like made sense by humans and tools. So that's when the threat intelligence is getting shared across, for example, sent to firewalls to block some specific IP addresses, or the analyst produce a report for the senior executive people to make decisions on their investment in security and what do they focus on. Yeah, important thing there is also partnerships. So like sharing data across different companies. And super important one, how do you name a threat actor? So if you're tracking a cybersecurity threat actor, yeah, well, how do we decide on their naming so it's rememberable and funny, I guess. All right, security assessment and testing, research and vulnerability, developing exploits, and very important thing here is disclosure. So when a security researcher is has taken a thing apart, found out that there was something wrong, finding the right channels to communicate it, and actually on the company side of things, organizing those, like maybe having some channels like bug bounty to communicate and disclose the vulnerabilities, so that they are early aware and can fix them before it gets publicly published. Social engineering, getting into cyber realm via humans, getting them to disclose or their credentials, for example, or give access to the systems that they are not supposed to. That's an interesting one, and it requires special skill, as it's not every person who can do it. Privacy and data protection and policies. So we are talking here about like policy, like what kind of data are companies allowed to gather? So because if data is stored somewhere, like potentially someone can have access to it, it can be breached. And if it's collected outside of the policy, like you don't want these things to happen. Data can be encrypted, of course. So there is like, this is also a very interesting field of technology, like and development, making sure that these things are secure and cannot be easily decrypted. And we've seen like there is a cat and mouse play on creating more secure algorithms that require more computing resources, and then computing resources catching up, and kind of we need to keep on evolving in this space. Policies, NDAs, laws, so everything kind of on the side of controls, but not the technical controls, but giving frameworks for law enforcement and for the secure development, secure systems implementations. Also, like on the side of in the company, inside the company itself, like how do you govern the data, for example, and like what what processes are set out to keep data secure. Compliance and audit. Kind of really, I would say, like, to me, it seems a bit quite much related to the privacy and protections and policies. So like if you have laws, there should be an enforcement agency for those laws, and like we need to have the whole unit of people who can do cyber response and go to court, basically, like provide evidence, etc. I put here due diligence, so that's when you need to check your vendors from also a security perspective, and that's a totally kind of different activity compared to like any technical development things. Vendor management, kind of similar. Interesting and fascinating thing is standard development. So that's like when multiple companies gather and try to come up with like a common understanding, a common way of doing things. I think that's super important, and like there are standards that are related to security and also the threat intelligence and how the information is being shared between different tools. With again kind of going. Like I'll tell a bit about it in a moment. Yeah. So and then the compliance and audit. Also a special thing where like you check if your security, if you have the controls in place you say you have, and that requires also special skill of like getting this information, making sure that it's like accounted for, and creating recommendations if it's not. Education, training, and outreach. So also, I don't know, like I kind of keep saying that it's very important. So like it seems like like this is one of the things that it's not only kind of internal but also external. Teaching people in general that cybersecurity is important, that privacy matters. Like how do they click that cookie banner away? Things like that. Then outreach and publishing about breaches, kind of making society more aware about the impact of cyber. Awareness inside the companies. So how do you train employees to not click on that phishing email, developing trainings, and that's also like a very special skill to make things memorable and make sure that people can retain this information. I put here conferences. Of course, that's important because that's the place where people learn and also tell about things that they've learned. Certification, so kind of getting like developing the programs to test the knowledge and the skills. Phishing simulation kind of goes back to the awareness, and like that's another way of training people in a more hands-on way. Some things that are didn't make it in my breakdown. Cyber insurance, insurance against the breaches. That's a very new field. It's been developed. There is not much information on to make assessment like on the statistics of those breaches. So it's quite interesting how the insurance companies who were who exist for a long time now have to adapt to this new reality, and how do they implement those insurances right now. Identity protection, so your fake LinkedIn profiles mimicking your CEO in order to get some foot in the door in the company and do some social engineering. Brand protection, kind of the same, but on a brand level, and in the disinformation countering. So that's like that kind of goes much beyond the cybersecurity realm, but I think that it's relevant and it can be dealt with from this cybersecurity perspective, and there are tools that are being looked into and developed for this. So let me zoom out. This, like all of these things, you can look at them from the perspective of like different companies in different industries that will be implementing like some of these activities. They will be in different maturity stages, like where different number of resources that you can have for this. And you like if you work in this field, you can end up in many different like organizational units, kind of like that belong to cybersecurity. So with this, I wanted to show that cybersecurity is really big, and it's not only technical, but it incorporates all angles of like human interaction, human organization in a way, and it's a very, very, very big field. Another way to look at this is to look at let me do the slideshow. To look at the number of products that are out there that address the needs in cybersecurity. And like this map is probably outdated and also does not include all of the companies and services that are out there. And it's just huge. And with that, I want to say that there are so many challenges, and we need we cannot address it with one human, right? Like it has to be we need many different people. Even like the things I didn't mention, like there are many more things in cyber that that require different skills. And we need people who can break things and who can fix things, who can model, who can make standards, who can track trends, who can understand people, and who can understand technology. But all different things, because diverse teams, they are more resilient, and things are moving really fast. Not only in cyber, but in general. I saw a quote recently which said, like, if you feel like everything is under control, you are not moving fast enough. I don't think anybody else feels like things are under control. So yeah, like when you have a diverse team, you can quicker adapt and find interesting solutions to the problems there are. Lately, we do have the skills gap in cyber. There are many jobs that are not job openings that are not filled, and we also need people with different backgrounds. So we can look not just in immediately kind of cyber professionals, but people who come from linguistics to help with threat intelligence, or people from a meteorological field come into work in cyber because they're so good in pattern recognition. Some research I did to find out what kind of interesting and really not common professions there are in cyber. One thing that someone mentioned to me was ransomware negotiator. So that's a thing now in cyber. People who can help you negotiate ransom if you have that situation, and it's a real thing. And a profession of nonverbal profiler. Those are people who can interview people for integrity. When those professionals who will be working with classified data to know that they are actually not going to breach their agreements, and also to help with the insider threat investigations, right? Understanding what people are telling them, recognizing some discrepancies there. So super interesting. Imagine what kind of person, what kind of skills does a person have to be able to work in those jobs. I'm just amazed, honestly. When we think about diversity and kind of it doesn't only count with background, and of course all the things about diversity, self-identification and cultural diversity, different countries people live in. Also diversity of thought, thinking in the, we all are unique, we think differently, and I discovered the topic of neurodiversity when I was looking into this topic, and that's something that is also getting kind of more attention. Sorry, one sec. And you can think about it the diversity in the way people process information and the sensory input, the way they can socially interact and understand social cues, the way they solve problems, the way they think. Are they thinking in images, or is it kind of more in words? Can you focus? What grabs your attention? How do you plan all these kind of things? And the things that come to mind are ADHD or autism or OCD or dyscalculia, things like that. And the neurodivergent people are the ones who are who have a less typical profile when it talks to competency profiles. So it's but everybody is different, and basically you can be anywhere on the spectrum, depending on how your day is going, what kind of mood do you have, what's your environment, what stressors happened around you. And I also interviewed people in Elastic to understand if someone was diagnosed, what's their experience. And it's been really interesting to find out that a lot of times people are diagnosed quite late. Also, there is a problem with diagnosing this neurodiversity with women, because it's kind of more common to test men, and it has more data, and women have a different way of let's say manifesting those things. In many cases, people are getting diagnosed based on their kids' diagnosis, and they were not aware. And one thing that stood out when I was researching this topic was like that basically the only thing we can do is kind of be more attentive to people, to their human side, right? And to accommodate their needs. If you need to have a more flexible schedule because you can focus in a specific time, or if you need to have less distractions, like having noise canceling headphones, things like that. In many cases, it kind of feels like the accommodations are negative. So like that someone will get a fair advantage, but also on the opposite side of things, actually, if majority of people are accommodated, no matter like what their profile is, it creates a much better working environment. So it's not actually creating an exclusive environment, it's creating a much more inclusive environment. So what do we do with all of this? Thinking about like the backgrounds, neurodiversity, it makes sense to create awareness that people are different, and of course, like there are more aware people, there are less aware. Learn more about the things, like what if you're looking for someone for a job, like what kind of core skills there are, and like if you have trouble finding a person for that job, maybe there are like other completely different industries where people have exactly the skills you need, and you just need to get them trained more on the specific cyber topics. Accommodating the needs, and know why are we doing this, because we want to create stronger teams who can address like these challenges that we have. Be open and be curious, embrace discomfort. In case we are working with people who are different from us, our tribal, old brain, 1,000 years old, it doesn't feel comfortable. We want to be around people who are like us, and it's just, it could be difficult, but cybersecurity in the end is not a comfortable place to work. Like we have to have a high discomfort tolerance, because things are kind of broken. It's always you find a problem, you need to fix it, or like it feels a bit like cat and mouse. You always need to learn, need to improve things. So getting out of the comfort zone, in whatever sense it is, makes sense for us. And with that, I want to talk to the person who got out of her comfort zone, and I think hopefully magic is happening. So join me today. I want to share the mic with Isa Mace. She is working in the protections team. And how are you today?
Hello, Kseniia. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. That was an awesome talk. Thank you.
All right. What is your current role?
So here at Elastic, I'm a security research engineer on the trade team. And basically, I do exactly what's in the name. I do a lot of security research. I'm learning a lot about threat actors and the threat landscape and behaviors in particular, so that the detection engineering side of my team, we kind of engineer detection logic and create rules for our customers to use.
Cool. What did you do before you started in cyber?
So officially, my background is actually in education. I was a teacher. I taught kindergarten and first grade, and I was your typical kindergarten, first grade teacher, super joyful, happy-go-lucky. That was me. And I did that for 6 years. I made a whole career out of it right out of college, and thought I might be doing that for the rest of my life. But then, in 2020, I just decided it was time for me to leave. I knew it was time, and decided to pursue a career change. And so 3 years later, here I am. Okay, Kseniia, you're muted.
Sorry about that. What got you interested in cyber?
So it started with just an interest in tech. When I decided I wanted to transition, I decided tech was the field I wanted to go into, because it just was constantly growing, really future focused, and job security was something that I really wanted to look into. I don't think I want to change careers again. And so cyber kind of stood out within that entire tech world as something that was really meaningful and important. And that motivator of like making a difference was something that was big for me as a teacher, because I felt that I saw it every day as I was impacting the lives of children. It was just easy to see, it was good to feel, and I wanted to feel that same kind of feeling in whatever my next career was going to be. So that's kind of where cyber stood out.
Nice. And what steps did you take to start in cyber?
A lot, but it really started with mindset. And I kind of took the same steps and I realized this as I was going through, that a lot of the things I did as a teacher and a lot of the things I was trying to instill into my kids because I taught kindergarten. Kindergarten is the first year into school. So they're really learning how to be a learner that year. And so a lot of the things I was teaching them, I kind of used on myself. And the first step was just mindset, understanding your purpose, your end goal, the vision you want to see, where you want to see yourself by whatever time frame, just like framing your mental state and getting behind your purpose, your why, because I knew it was going to be hard and I needed a motivator and my why was my reason. So that was step one, mindset. And then after that, everything to me is just content. Content can be learned and I can learn it. And so my next step was just learn what you need to learn to do this job. And so I got formal training. I chose to go the boot camp route instead of going back to school just because it was faster. I could have someone in person. It was really hands-on. And those are just all the things that I knew I needed as a learner. So I got my training. And then after that was the really hard part of developing the habits to just do things on my own, study things on my own, follow my curiosities, learn more. My boot camp gave me foundations, but after that was like my turn to really decide what I wanted to learn, where I wanted to be, and work towards it. This was also the period that I took to really build up my skill set, build up my resume, because after this, I'm going into interviewing phase. So I took this phase really seriously. And I think that was the biggest takeaway, was just being really intentional in every step of the way as to what I was doing and why I was doing it. And then finally, just going out, interviewing, job hunting, talking with my network, getting people on board with me to help me get to where I wanted to be. And, utilizing my support system and treating interviewing like a job and treating job hunting like a job. Like I was up early, I was really well planned. I was still being really intentional on everything, and ended up 2 years. It took me from start to finish to actually work. And I started working at Elastic this year in February. So patience, endurance, all the things you want to teach your kids to do, I did it myself. And that was my steps to get here.
I'm really inspired by this. And I think that realizing how much time it takes to actually transition, that's super nice. What are the skills from your previous job that help you now?
So I think the biggest thing is just being able to transfer those skills to a completely different culture, completely different work environment. Because there are little things like time management, planning, organizing, self-discipline, prioritizing tasks. Like those are things I did daily as a teacher, but had to learn how to do that in an environment where I'm at home, I'm kind of on my own schedule. I'm doing project-based work. It's not the same as me being in a building 9 hours a day with a set schedule. So just being able to transfer what worked well for me as a teacher over to a different culture and environment, I think is a skill in itself. And then something else I realized that might not be as obvious is reading comprehension. But reading comprehension is a legitimate skill. And you're reading things all day long, being able to understand documentation, understanding answers to issues, understanding threat reports, and just making meaning of what you're reading. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'll read a paragraph sometimes and then realize I have no idea what that paragraph was about. I was just reading. I wasn't comprehending. So I go back and I read it again. Just little things like that, that I didn't realize would be such a big part of this job, but it really is. And then another aspect of me even realizing reading comprehension was a skill I needed to focus on is just being self-aware. Being self-aware, understanding yourself as not only the learner, but you're also the teacher. Like at this stage, and no one's telling me kind of what I need to do and what I need to learn. I kind of have to be able to advocate for myself, be able to look around, look at my team, see what we're doing, what we're expected to do, and understand my own gaps so that I can create my own kind of learning path. So I'm still learning at this point. I haven't gotten there. And so I keep that be a learner, be teachable, know yourself mindset.
Super nice, awesome. What are you working on currently?
So currently, we're in on week right now. So we're taking this week just to step away from planned work and do other things that might be fulfilling, like innovation or studying. And so I'm taking this time to study. So I'm studying for a certification, not because I need the certification, but because I've been doing a lot of work with Kubernetes in my actual job, just understanding the threat landscape and creating some detection logic and behavior rules for Kubernetes in particular. I went from 0 a few months ago, never touched it before, to now feeling like I might, want to be a subject matter expert in this. And so I'm taking this time to just study a little bit more for the certified Kubernetes administrator, just so I can learn, fill in any gaps that I've missed over these past few months of playing with it myself. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Super cool. Any kind of things you wish that were different in your team or like work environment?
I love my team. I love the flexibility that we have in this work environment. I have a lot of really great teammates who have just offered mentorship without me even asking. And even people outside of my team have offered mentorship, Miss Kseniia Turner. But one thing I do wish is different. I haven't met anybody that I've worked with, and that is so different for me. As a teacher, like, we're in person and you just build so much relationship by like being in the building and walking past each other in the hall, and just those little things that are kind of hard to recreate in a virtual environment. I kind of wish were different. I don't know how to make it different because I also love this environment. So yeah, it's kind of I don't know what to do about it, but I wish I could meet everybody.
Thanks. Super nice. With that, I will open the floor for the Q&A. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask Isa or Kseniia?
I just want to say awesome job, ladies. I love this presentation.
Yes, it was wonderful.
All right.
So I have a question. So like Isa mentioned that it took her 2 years to go from her previous career to get into cybersecurity. And like she stuck through it, but a lot of times that amount of time can get a bit discouraging. And it's really hard to get your foot through the door when you're trying to make such a drastic switch. So can you provide some commentary on how we as folks already in security could help bring more people into it by making it a little easier for people to get into the field itself?
That for me? Okay.
Anyway, honestly, like just a discussion on that is cool too. It's something I've always wondered, and I don't know, like for me, it was more like I had a hardware engineering background, and then I was trying to switch into data science. But even then, there was that disconnect where like I was just finding it really hard to make that switch. I don't know if it's always the case or there's something
Yeah.
people who already are in that field can do differently to make that process easier for people trying to get into it.
Yeah, I think so. What helped with me anyway, so 2 of the biggest and closest interviews that I ended up getting, me close to getting a job, including this one, were from people who just knew me. These are people that were just in my network from college, and who were just out there paying attention to what other people were saying. And they just saw that I was active in cybersecurity and I was trying to do this transition, and they reached out to me, just offering, hey, here's support. Hey, I have this job. Hey, I have this lady who would be a great mentor for you. Just like anything, any help. Hey, here are some resources that I used. So I think if it could be really easy, and I've noticed it myself now that I'm in the field. I'm so focused on being really good at my job and learning these things that I've kind of stopped paying attention to what other people that are also trying to get into cyber are doing. So I think if we can try to like intentionally pay attention to what other people are doing and actively like step out and help if you see that there's a way that you can, I think is the the best advice that I can give, and is what helped me get to where I am, other people doing that for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really good advice.
Another thing
do find that.
I want to pinpoint and add is that just from being in the field for over 10 plus years, one of the things I tell anyone and any of my mentees, us included, is that one of the things that you have to have in order to get into cyber, you have to have the willingness to learn. That's one. But you need to network. Networking is primary. And if networking starts actually with joining focus groups, you can find local meetups and of course, since we've been in COVID, a lot of meetups haven't been in person, but you can find local groups that are focused on cyber and join those groups, network with other people. That's how you understand the field, and you can get different perspectives from other people. And then when you get into these groups, you find mentors. Mentorship is a primary and is an essential for cyber. But to be in cyber, you have to have the willingness to learn, and you have to be dedicated and realize that it's going to be a struggle at times, but you choose it because you're passionate about it, and choose an area to where you're going to focus it. You don't have to be a jack of all trades.
I'm looking at Rosalind's question about like where to start, and to add to what you're saying, Tanisha, is like, because it's so big, there are many things like that you can get interested in, and identifying like where do you want to focus, what things like excite you really. That would really help, because it will help you like memorize and learn things and get to know more. Like you'll be genuinely interested in like other people, how did they start this journey, and we'll get more information on that. And there are many resources online on different topics in cyber to learn from. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions that anyone has? Ladies, this was a great presentation, and it's great to bring Isa on as someone who transitioned into cyber, who came from a non-conventional background. That is something that we like to see. That is something that we like to see in this area, is that we want to see people from non-traditional backgrounds. And I want to emphasize to everyone is that cyber is not all technical. It's both technical and non-technical. There are other areas such as risk management and compliance. There's other areas in cyber that you can get into, even cybersecurity sales, there's product. I mean, it's both technical and non-technical. So as long as you find an area that you're interested in, then you need to focus on that area and be good at that area. And that's what it's all about in cyber. I said there's a question for you as far as out of all the diverse fields Kseniia presented, what do you lean towards being in research engineering?
Yeah, I don't know why I was trying to type the full paragraph over here. So honestly, it was just the opportunity. And that was another one of those overarching themes I would say about my entire journey, was just being open to doors opening for you and walking through them. I did not want to close myself off to say, hey, I only want to do SOC analyst. I only want to be penetration tester. I saw people do that, and it took them a really long time to get a job. So I was honestly just open to all kinds of opportunity. And when this one came up, research engineering seemed really cool. That hunting seemed really cool, and it was interesting, and I liked it. And I was like, yep, I could do this. Cool, let's do it. So opportunity.
Okay, well, great. Is there anyone else that has any questions? And before we wrap up? Okay, if there's no other questions, I want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Kseniia, for an excellent presentation and providing us all the details and information. We do appreciate that, and thank you, my awesome mentee Isa, who's such a wonderful lady. I am so proud of you. I'll just have to say that I'm so proud of you. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you, everyone, for watching the recording. And everyone, have a great afternoon. Goodbye.